How's everybody doing today? I'm out in the woods again today. Taking a little short hike out to the Manatee River. This is near what they call Rye Preserve. It's on one side of the river. Usually I've taken you guys out to the other side of the river. This is the western side, I guess you could say. Haven't been out here in a couple years. Kind of an interesting area. Sometimes during the rainy season, I don't know what that noise was. So anyway, what I was going to say was, sometimes when the river is overflowing, you get these overflow areas like this where it exposes the sand. That freaked me out. If there was an animal over here. So that's why I think the ground is all sandy like this, because there must have been during the rainy season, there must have been the creek must have overflowed in this area. That was weird. It's a good place to find, you can see how the ground is still wet right here. You see how the water's still bubbling up from the sand? Can you see that? When you put your feet down, it's still pretty wet there. Yeah, it looks like people come out here. I don't know how often, but you can tell there's a rope swing out here. Sometimes people boat out here. They come out here in their in the boats, little John boats, and they come out in kayaks and canoes and stuff. But look at this giant tree that fell. That's huge. That is a big oak tree, man. I wonder if this is damage from Hurricane Hermine. Was it Hermine or Hermine? Am I mixing these two up? Wow, this oak tree must have been, the roots must have been right there. The whole thing just fell out in the river there, and nobody's looks like nobody's come out with a chainsaw to take it out. That is pretty crazy. Those guys that were jumping into the river, a couple of young teenage guys, one decided to jump after the other one, and if you look at the tape you can see that he almost jumps right on his friend's head. You know, it's one of those things that when you do when you're young, you just go out with a bunch of friends and you just jump off bridges for no apparent reason. They said that they had somebody with a depth finder actually had checked the depth, so they knew it was 11 feet or so. This is something you don't see very often in this area. It's kind of almost a mini waterfall here. The terrain in this area is not really hilly, so you don't see a lot of rushing water necessarily in this area. Usually it's very slowly wandering water. But this thing was so loud when I was walking by, I was like, wow, there must be some rushing water. But I think the elevation goes from high to low over here. And that's why we've got the water rushing over into the river. Probably coming off near where the main road is. Still very pretty. A little bit like, what would you say, Return of the Jedi? I just noticed there's a big hole over here. I wonder if this is a tortoise hole. I can't tell. Sometimes the tortoise, little, what do they call it? I can't think of the name. Gopher tortoise? They dig these holes in there. And sometimes it's just other animals that have just taken over. I was on my way driving out this dirt road out here, which is part of the preserve, and a lady stopped, said, hey, in her car. Said, I don't know if she was drinking, but she sounded like it. Are you just driving around out here? Are you on your way to see somebody? Because people like to come out here on dirt bikes and just tear things up. And I looked at her and I said, this is a street bike. She's like, oh, well, I can see that now, but because people like to just come out here and tear things up. And I'm thinking, do you own the park or something? You're just randomly stopping people and asking them if they're, why they're out here? It's, as far as I know, it's county-owned land. And people don't have the right to ask you what you're doing or where you're going. I've been asked once or twice before similar things, and it's like, do people think they have the they're police officers and they're going to interrogate you? I was very close to saying it's really none of your business what I'm doing out here. But there's signs. This is a park. It's on the map as a park. It doesn't say specifically it's a park right here, but it just says no vehicles. Anyway, if you're one of those nosy Nancys, maybe you should just mind your own business, because it's really not up to you to decide what people are doing in a county park or state park or city park. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Alright, so I got a little story for you guys. You see this really long antenna? It's probably over 100 feet high. See how tall that is? It's right in the sun, so you can't even hardly see the top of it. I don't know, I'm just guesstimating maybe 130, 140 feet tall. I'm trying to get out of the way of the sun there a little bit so you can see a little bit better. So I believe that this is possibly a microwave tower because of the type of dishes on it. Microwave tower generally has like round radar dishes, like on the Millennium Falcon, just kind of a round, like the old satellite dish type things. So if it was a cell phone tower, it would have those round circular, like tubular antennas. But this one's got, like I said, the radar dishes on there. I believe that this is a television station, microwave station. You see there's like a little building there, where all electronics are housed and all the power and stuff goes right there. So when I used to work for a TV station, we used to have those live trucks with the extendable antenna on top, right? And so we had to, this doesn't make any sense, okay? So the TV station is south about 30 miles, 25 or 30 miles, but this antenna is in like Parrish area, which is way outside of Manatee County, way out there. And it's in the middle of the boondocks, and it must be because there's FCC regulations about how close you can have microwave, and same with radio station antennas. You know, you can't have them right next to houses, although there are houses. I don't know, I'd say this is like 500 feet away. I don't know, there's houses over here. Nice little country houses. All right, so the crux of the story is that when we would go live with those live vans, we would point the antenna north to these towers, and then the tower would get the signal, and it's so high that you could be practically anywhere within, I don't know, 30 to 50, maybe even more, maybe more than 50 miles away. This would receive your microwave signal, like the top dish up there. Can you see that one up there? I'm trying to get so the sun's not right in my eyes. Can you see that little dish? That little dish is probably like 100 feet up, maybe. And those dishes would receive the signal from the live truck and then send it back to the TV station. But like I said, it doesn't make a lot of sense where this is because it's so far north of the TV station. I never really understood the demographics. But we could be Tampa, which I would say is about 20 miles north of here, maybe a little bit longer, and we could shoot a signal back to this tower. I don't know whose idea that was, and we could still pick up the signal, and then this signal was like a repeater signal, which would then send it southward. Does that make any sense at all? This other building over here, see that big building? I think that's a abandoned, like a little 7-Eleven type of like strip mall over there. It's all fenced off. It's so weird. But I always wondered, because when we had a problem, our engineers from the TV station, like I say, 30 miles away or so, whatever it is, would have to drive all the way out here to make sure that the tower was working properly. It's so cloudy out today, you can't even see so good. But you see how, I don't know if you can see, oh yeah, you see those lights flashing? There's flashing lights so aircraft don't hit these things because they're so tall. Over a certain height, it has to have those strobes So if you're driving a helicopter at night, plane, anything like that, a whirlybird, a glider, parachuting, you could see that at night, so you don't run, because it is a very tall. I wonder if that thing's about 150 feet. I'm trying to compare it to, like, if you had a one-story building, this building over here would be 1 story. So if you stack that up, I wonder if that would be almost 200 feet. It's really hard to tell. It's hard to get a guesstimation of that, but it's just sort of out in the middle of nowhere. These houses look a little bit newer out here, so I'm sure this antenna was out here like a long time before. Come on, dude. Yeah, so this is a marvel of modern engineering, I guess you could say. Although they probably had these things for decades and decades. But it's a massive, giant thing. The cables go out for hundreds of yards in all directions. Maybe that's why they had to put it in the middle of nowhere. But look at the size of this base for this thing. It's about 6 feet around. Look at all those cables. About 1.5 inch cables going way up there. I wonder how long those cables are. Maybe 300 or 400 feet long. Going way up to the tower, back down to here. And it's got several bases spread out like a triangle. It's pretty neat. I've never seen one of those actually close up like that. But it makes me wonder. Like I said, they always tell me that they have to go out to Ellington to check the antenna. So it's probably a, I don't know, 30-40 minute drive out here. It's crazy. Just kind of happened upon this by accident. Very cool. Just kind of moseying on along, and out of the side of my eye, I just caught this house that was kind of in this wooded area. Another geodesic house. If you look at the triangles there, right up here, dome type house with the triangles, like it was in the last vlog. You don't really see these just like mainstream neighborhoods. Probably people maybe think they're like an eyesore or something. But this is kind of in a, like I would say, like on a farm area. I don't know what that beeping noise is. It's coming from that truck over there. Very cool though. Very cool domed house. They're all slightly just a little bit different. Some of them have these front porches on it, and you can see, kind of see it has like a little, what do they call that, a cupola on the top, and then kind of a square side thing. Instead of just being a round ball, it's based on a dome shape. So that means, from what I read, it can be unsupported in the middle because of the structure of it. The middle doesn't have to have any partitions or any walls. It can be all open inside. Like you can, if you go on Google online, you can actually see pictures of the inside. Just, it's like an open ball on the inside. So right now we're on the right in the middle of the Manatee River on a dock here at Fort Hammer. It's I don't know anything about Fort Hammer, to tell you the truth. Usually a lot of these places are named after Civil War era U.S. Army forts, because they had built forts all over Florida during the Seminole Wars, I think, and a lot of those times in Florida back in the 1800s when the Indians were around. But last time, the last vlog, we were actually in the Manatee River. We were on the south side. Now I'm on the north side of the river. There's also a train. The reason I came out here is because I haven't been out here since they completed this bridge. This bridge going all the way across the Manatee River is brand spanking new. Last time I was here, it was somewhere in the halfway point of completion. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting just to come out and see what it was like, because I've never been here. This is actually Palmetto, Florida. And then as you work your way across the bridge, you go into Manatee County, Ellington area, I guess you could say, or Palmetto area. I don't know. I have no idea where I am. To tell you that, God's honest truth. This sign is talking about Fort. This sign is talking about Fort Hammer. I wonder if isn't Hammer H-A-M-M-E-R? So during the Seminole Wars in the 1850s, they talk about coming to an agreement with the Indians, and it's talking about the Seminole Indians, the Miccosukee Indians, and the Muskogee Indians, I guess. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Agreed to go to, what does it say, to Oklahoma on a ship. just really crazy. And then the fort that was actually here was sent, the materials were deconstructed and sent to Fort Casey and Fort Myers, which is south of here, which is kind of crazy. Kind of cool though, interesting history. If you read if you've ever been interested in the history of Florida, there's a lot of things about fighting the Indians and the Native Americans and the Seminole Wars, the 1850s, before the Civil War started. Pretty interesting stuff if you like that cowboys and Indians stuff, but there is no fort here anymore. Just a couple of modern buildings. I think I'm gonna wrap it up for today. This building actually looks kind of new too. Wonder if they kind of rebuilt the whole thing or they just had put a coat of varnish on it. I kind of like the wood cabin type look. But anyway, some days aren't super interesting adventures. Sometimes it's just about coming out and enjoying the nature, coming out in the country, seeing what there is to see. I spent a lot of the day driving today. I'm probably about, I don't know, 45 minutes, 50 minutes away from home if I drove in a straight line, but I drove and stopped and drove and stopped, and been driving around the farmlands, and I had my helmet camera on, so I got some video of the roads as I'm driving through the farmlands. Very pretty area. Just nice old-fashioned farms and farmhouses and doggies and cows and goats. Anyway, if you took the time to watch to the end, I appreciate you guys just hanging out with me. I'm pretty tired, so I'm getting ready to head back before I get caught in a big thunderstorm. Usually this is the time of day where we catch some rain. Anyway, if you did watch to the end and you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks for coming along. I'll leave you with a little bit of driving video from the farmlands. Hopefully my camera batteries recorded all that, because I know the battery shut off. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you in the next video.